We can start with a big international player in an international portfolio, and that's L'Oreal, which is a French cosmetics consumer products group. About half of its business is hair care products, Elsev and the likes, and the other half is skin products. It's a very strong brand. Because you're worth it, you'll be familiar with that marketing payoff line. Market capitalization, it's listed, remember, in France, but also trades in the United States of America. It's about 108.08, well, not about, it is $108.08 billion worth of market cap. Price earnings ratio 29.78, dividend yield 1.85. So we've discussed it quite a few times.
Yeah.
The share chart, let's put up the share chart because it hasn't really done all that well. You can see it's sort of bounced around. This is the US listed ADR, but it is back at close to $40, so it's having a better 2016. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, this has been an interesting one, and the performance from a share price perspective really hasn't been there. But they have been able to grow revenue quite significantly. They've been able to eke out some margin gains. It's a highly cash generative business. You mentioned because you're worth it. It's not only L'Oreal, it's also Maybelline. Maybe she's born with it, maybe it's Maybelline. I mean, these are big brands, Garnier.
And then at the top end, things like Urban Decay and so on, which people love if you're like prepared to pay the extra.
Yes, and they're actually looking to make further acquisitions in that top end luxury beauty space, because we've seen big luxury brands come under a little bit of pressure, and perhaps there's a lipstick effect for the rich as well, where you're not going to buy a new Birkin bag, but you can afford to buy a new YSL lipstick.
Yeah. As far as the breakdown is concerned, sales by region, I'm seeing 36% Europe, 25% North America, 21% Asia Pacific, and then the rest is elsewhere. So what's interesting about that is that it is really a developed country story.
Yes.
It's got to accelerate its sales in emerging markets. So that'll be here, South America, Asia, and so on. But it's still dependent on economic growth and advancement in Europe, and Europe in particular. Being French, it makes sense. The European backdrop, I mean, how are you seeing that now that we've got Brexit and the EU? Do you think this thing doesn't matter? Do you see a sustained uptick in consumer demand in Europe at some point?
Well, I mean,
eventually?
Yeah, maybe eventually, but I mean,
we've been waiting for it for like 5 years.
Yes, but the issue at the moment is consumers don't like uncertainty. They don't like change. They don't like the fact that the UK don't want to be part of them anymore. They don't like the fact that politicians are going to be distracted by this for the next year or 2 years, 3 years.
So there's like a demographic problem too, and it compounds when bad things happen.
Absolutely. But as I mentioned, this is a very, very defensive type of business to be in when you are concerned about what consumers are going to do.
Okay, we've got a couple of issues that we always talk about with L'Oreal. The one is that there is 20-something% held by Nestle. That has been coming down. And then a big chunk, nearly 30%, belongs to the Betancourt family. And there's an old woman who's like the second richest person in Europe, Liliane Betancourt. The concern is when she dies, what's going to happen to the family stake and what's going to happen to the Nestle stake. Is that a non-issue? I mean, is it so big that it'll just get resolved along the way and big public shareholders will come in and take those stakes?
Yeah, well, my sense is that will probably be the case. The bigger issue, because it's so closely held, is the fact that you won't get share buybacks out of this company. So that's where the issue comes in for shareholders when they're looking at a total return kind of scenario. If they buy back shares, the stake held by that family becomes so big that it triggers an mandatory offer.
Although they did buy back a portion, I think, of the Nestle
from
stake.
The Nestle stake.
And they raised debt a little bit and that geared it up a bit. So I suppose that is a positive.
But also, I mean, you could say it's a negative because you're not getting dividends and share buybacks. But then again, this company has such a big cash pile that gets forced to invest into growth.
I think I would prefer, I'm a shareholder of this one, if they did do share buybacks rather than dividends, because you know that the French gobble 30% of your dividend.
Yes, but I mean, what they're doing at the moment isn't really either of those things. They are investing for growth, and as you mentioned, you actually want them to invest for growth, but specifically in emerging markets. And I know that they've opened a product development kind of center here in Johannesburg to try and further their advances into the rest of Africa.
And I know they're very keen on the Brazilian market, although the problem, of course, with Brazil right now is that consumer confidence there is so low that it's really kind of got a trough before it comes back up again. Okay, so as I alluded to there, I actually own these. It's one of the companies we like to buy for people. It hasn't really done all that that well, so not a lot of love out there.
Or
but
maybe if you bought it in February, you would have
Yeah,
felt
exactly.
a little bit better.
although it's done this kind of up down thing for the last 2 years, but I'm still hot on it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You have to be in this kind of market.
Good, right. So that's an international trend set. Of course, there are other international companies like Estee Lauder and others that you can consider, but certainly L'Oreal is one of the biggest and best positioned.